This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Welcome aboard, Indiana Sports Beat with Quail and Larry coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this. Thank goodness it's Friday, January 24th. Big win for Indiana last night at the Simon Scott Assembly Hall. So they knocked off Sparty. We'll talk about that. They got another big one coming up on Sunday, Todd, as Maryland rolls in. We'll talk about that as well. The McDonald's All-American teams were announced. And how about Clark Kellogg on the program today from CBS Sports? We'll also have our friend Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana with us as well. So a lot to get to. Welcome in. Jake's at the wheel, keeping us on the track. My running mate, Todd Leary. Todd, how are you, brother?
I'm great. Probably the only thing that equals my excitement on a game day is my excitement the day after a big win.
Yeah, well, we've got to feign some energy today because it was a late night. Man, that was a late one, an 8:30 tip. Of course, the game doesn't get over till after 10:30, and then we did the post-game show, which was huge. Great, big show. Thanks to everybody. We appreciate you guys for participating live after the game, live from Yogi's with Todd Leary. Man, another fun one, but people are getting more excited about this season.
We had great participation online, but, man, we had great participation in Yogi's or at Yogi's as well. What a place packed itself after the game. So thanks to everybody for coming out and supporting the show. It was a really good one.
Yep, sir. I didn't thank Chris Martin last night, I think, but thanks to Chris Martin and Nathan Finney Hospitality Group, as always, welcome us in. And it's always a fun time in there, man. It's always fun.
Yeah, it's growing, and the post game is getting bigger and bigger. And when you can get that many people in there that late at night, I mean, heck, I saw so many people that I know from Indianapolis that still had to turn around and drive home for an hour and a half. That was impressive and nice of them to stop in.
Not just Indianapolis, but Fishers on the far northeast side. So,
yeah.
You can't get any further away for Indianapolis.
Yeah,
that way,
it's funny. I've lived in Carmel in my entire adult life pretty much, and I still call it Indianapolis. It's the same thing. Oh, no. Yeah. Exactly. I saw a couple of the Michigan State beat writers in there after the game. Oh, wow.
When I was heading out. So, yeah, fun night, big night for Indiana. That's a big win, Todd. We talked about this lead up. It was a great opportunity, and it's an opportunity they took advantage of. It was a weird game at certain junctures. They played so well through certain portions of it. They never really played horrible, but they kind of let their guard down for a little while before it became a game, and then it was a fist fight, and they won the fist fight, if you want to be honest about it.
Yeah, once it got to that point, you're right. I mean, Indiana, kind of controlled everything throughout a great portion of the game, and then once they got hit in the mouth, and once you make that reference all the time about Mike Tyson's comment that everybody's got to play until they get smacked in the mouth, and once Indiana got knocked down and Michigan State came back and took the lead and made some big shots. That's the super impressive part for me. That's when this team has developed, other than just improving playing together. They've developed as a team as a whole, and mentally almost just as much as physically.
Absolutely. Hey, man, guys, make sure you hit us up on the text line with comments, questions, 812-269-6367. That's 812-269-6367. Also, make sure you follow us on Twitter at Leary Todd or at Jim Coyle ISB. Follow up, keep up with everything that we got going. Ryan sends his question, and also questions for you guys. What do you think has been the best pro out of the Big Ten Conference on the men's side of basketball since, let's say, the last 25 years? Wow, bust that question out this early, Ryan. The heavy stuff. coming out with a heavy artillery.
He's going to have to give me some time to research some of that. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to that one, Ryan.
That's a good question. It's good. It's
provoking.
I'm still
all it can be is an argument there because there's got to be too many guys in that period of time.
I'm still resting on the win last night, so it's hard for me to turn my brain to that direction yet.
From Joker, Todd, MSU averaged 12 offensive rebounds per game.
Thank you for the info. They only had 5 last night.
Exactly. And had two games this year with only 7, UK and Rutgers. So 5 against IU was a season low. He confirmed what you thought.
Yeah, I mean that it almost has to be like when I looked at that number, I did the thing where I scrolled my hand across to make sure I was looking at the right category because that's just a crazy number for Michigan State. I say all the time, if Indiana looked at these stats or knew these stats, post game, we would tell you that they pretty much most likely lost the game, and that's a stat that I can tell you right now. If Tom Izzo, Dane Fife knew before the game they were going to have 5 offensive rebounds, they would have told you they were going to lose that game.
Man, all kinds of stuff to get to today. Indiana, of course, beats Michigan State in a big win at home. Let's see. No, there's no word on Thompson or Finney and their injuries. I think they looked minimal. I mean, they're minor injuries. Race Thompson played again, I think, didn't he?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, he did not play again? Yeah, I'm sure that his back just tightened up. I mean, because he was walking around okay, but we'll see. Hopefully not. And then Finney, of course, limping around a little bit after there that last second. Hopefully he didn't do anything, maybe a tweak or something.
I mean, here's part of the deal with that. And we've been saying all along, and this is really the case. I mean, these guys have got to start the minutes have got to tighten up, which when you say that means, Finney's minutes have got to get up to that closer to 30-minute range. And probably 28 to 32 is that number where you need them to play. He played 27 minutes last night. Trace Jackson Davis at 30, Justin Smith 34, Joey Brunk 28. So the meat of the minutes is going to those guys. And when that's the case, man, just believe me, you start to hurt. I mean, your knees will hurt a little bit more. Your ankles will hurt a little bit more. It's a big difference. But that, you know what? That's the case with everybody, across the country. Jameis Winston played 35 minutes last night. Xavier Tillman played 36 minutes last night. So, I mean, it's just part of it.
Yeah, it's Ohio State, man. How about you talk about somebody that is just in a downward spiral? You talking to me?
No, what'd Jake say?
Oh, I don't know.
Did I do it again? Gosh, I did that last night so many times.
Why do you not say that? Say that openly, Jake. Let us know. We can laugh that way.
Yeah, you can correct me because I say a lot of wrong stuff. We know that. Yeah, I know. My bad.
We got Clark Kellogg's on today appropriately because I can't not ask him about the implosion of his Buckeyes, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's always got some insight on some stuff like that, but you also know what a professional he is. He's probably not going to give us too much information, but he'll throw us a little nugget as to, what's going on with them and something to keep an eye on with that team because, them losing at home again last night, it's crazy.
In that smooth Clark Kellogg tone.
Yeah, he is so smooth. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. He's been on the show before. Looking forward to it. Dr. J's up and at it. It wasn't about better shooting. It was really about smart shots and them falling when we needed it. Yeah, and that's something we've been talking about that they've been doing here since the Rutgers game. There was like a definitive turn at the Rutgers game with this offense. It didn't work so well on that game, but that's okay. They got it headed in the right direction, and they're just continuing to work on this. And last night was just a hell of a test. I mean, that's probably one of the stiffest defensive tests you're going to face just because they're well coached. They're going to play hard, and they did, and they didn't quit. I mean, they kept coming at Indiana, and credit Indiana for that's it.
Oh, sorry. You did that thing where you cut out on me, and I hadn't caught up yet. But, Michigan State is a team. Look, when you beat Michigan State and you beat them the way Indiana did, I mean, I thought for lack of a better way of putting it, I just thought they out-toughed them. I mean, when the going got tough, I thought Indiana made the plays they needed to make. And overall, to the comment of Indiana took smart shots, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. I thought Justin Smith settled for some really bad shots. But I don't want to fall back. I don't want to rest on that and make it a huge deal. For the most part, they were driving the ball in the lane. They weren't chucking up three-pointers. They only took 12 three-pointers for the night. So that leads you to believe that they're not taking the super bad shot. Justin Smith took a couple of 17, 19-footers that just didn't make any sense. There was plenty of time on the shot clock, but get past all that. They out-toughed a Michigan State team. You don't get to say that very often, and that's a big deal.
Not only that, but ball security. I mean, 8 turnovers.
8 turnovers against Michigan State.
Yeah, against Michigan. Wow. And that, not only that, but the points off turnovers that they managed to acquire. Michigan State had, what would they end up with?
4.
No, Michigan State's turnovers.
Oh, Michigan State ended up with 13 turnovers,
which is not a terribly high number.
Yeah.
So for Indiana to get 17 points off of that, that's pretty efficient.
Yeah, well, and Indiana ended up with 11 points off of the turnovers. No, you're right. 17 points off of 13 turnovers. But for Michigan State, when you look at their line, I mean, you go down and look at some of the things they did. They shot 45%. That's not ridiculously terrible. They shot 43% from 3. That's pretty good. They shot over 70% from the free throw line. That's not bad. But then when you go down and look at it and you see that they only had 6 points off of turnovers and they only had 5 offensive rebounds, they only had 4 second chance points. Those are not typical Michigan State statistics. And so when you see that, Indiana took them out of what they normally do and what they're good at.
The last time I heard you say that?
Nope.
A year ago.
In the same game?
Yeah. Those are not Michigan State's. I mean, it's just
right.
Indiana has done this for back-to-back seasons. It's crazy for them, to have had, a team that's been so up and down. For a team to have one dominant run and it's over, of all people, Michigan State is kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. And I tell you, I like the fact that we don't go back and play there. I like the fact Indiana doesn't go to Michigan State.
I'm sure.
It gives you a good feeling, even when you get to the end of the season, and you look at what you're going to have done against the top, 4 or 5 teams at the top of the Big Ten. You're not going to have a loss to Michigan State, and that's a big deal. I think that'll end up being a big deal
for the second season in a row.
Yeah.
Ryan from Michigan says, sorry, I was thinking about that yesterday for some reason. I know it's a tough question. He's talking about that's back to his question. Jennifer down in Evansville says, Joey Brunk really impressed me with his play last night. He played with a lot of heart, paid off big with a big W. He worked hard, man. He did. He worked his butt off.
He really did. And, can I say I don't think through the first 10 games of the season there was anyone that was more critical of Joey Brunk than I was. And man, I'll tell you, you said it exactly right. He is working hard. He is battling. He's somebody that when the other team is game planning, Joey Brunk's name is brought up a lot and trying to figure out how to keep the ball out of his hands. He made a lot of plays last night that were hustle plays. He was in the right place at the right time. That basket at the end, I mean, you can't even describe how big that basket was for Indiana. So yeah, Jennifer's right. Joey Brunk has been, consistency wise for the last 10 ball games, I'd say Joey Brunk's been the best player overall if you look at just consistency for the whole 10 games.
You're right. We got a lot coming up here on the program today. Clark Kellogg from CBS Sports is going to join us next. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coy O'Leary from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Ryan Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is A.J. Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hi, this is A.J. Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
Put out the fire, don't look past my shoulder.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Leary here on this TGIF Friday. Hope you guys have had a great week and ready for the weekend, Todd.
Well, ready for a big game on Sunday. I know that. It's funny when it gets to this point and Indiana starts playing well, my weekends go back to revolving around the Hoosiers.
Yeah, and they're back in action on Sunday. The Terrapins, Maryland, 1 o'clock tip. CBS, their main game. It's the marquee game on a Sunday afternoon. And now we've settled in. We talked about this a little bit the other day. No more football. It's college basketball. That cold January day. It's gray outside. You got CBS has got games going, and that's what this Saturday is. And this is that starts that really good fun part of college basketball. And Indiana Maryland kicks it off.
Yep, it is. And you put football in the rear view. Obviously, the big Super Bowl game next Sunday, but you look at this scenario right now, and this game is coming at a good time for Indiana. They're coming off of a good win at home, and they've got another big game, another team they're tied with in the Big Ten in that third place spot. They've got a great chance to come out and really solidify and make this season. If the season has a chance at being really special, this game will be a part of it. I mean, adding this to the home victory against Michigan State last night, this would be a big one.
Absolutely, it's going to be a big one. And, last night you get a lot from that, obviously, from that win. The standings, what it does for your resume, all that business. But from a confidence level, what is winning that game from a confidence level has got to be, other than going on the road and doing something like that, this has got to be up there pretty high.
Well, and I said this last night, and I know I know it can come across as I'm being pretty negative, which I'm really not. But Indiana can look at that game last night and beating Michigan State, and then I look at the stats, look at every stat category that there is on there, and they're going to realize they can play a lot better, and they beat a really, really good team that everyone considers, everyone across the country considers the top 10 or 15 team. They were ranked number 1 to start the season out, and Indiana beat them and didn't play that great. I mean, the ceiling for Indiana, that's why I've been saying this for several weeks, is the ceiling for Indiana is so high because they've not even, they've not had that game where you're like, oh my gosh, they are insanely good. They've not put 40 straight minutes together. So the ceiling is super high for this Indiana team. And this Maryland game, I think, comes at the right time for them to help build on that confidence. I like it being right on the heels of Michigan State. Yeah,
and Maryland is a team that's they played like some other Big Ten teams, had a better go of it, it seems like, early on, but kind of trying to find themselves right now as they come into Bloomington on Sunday. It's a team unlike Michigan State. They don't have that senior guard that Indiana has to worry about, but they do have quite a presence in the paint.
Well, they do have that senior guard, and he seems like he's been there for 15 years.
Oh, I forgot about him.
He's not had.
He's still there. I thought he graduated 8 years ago.
Exactly. I know Anthony Cowan. It seems like he played so much as a freshman, and here's the crazy part: there was a lot of talk his freshman year about him being a one and done, and he had the kind of season that I truly think, had he left, I think he would have gotten drafted. I don't think he would have gotten drafted in the lottery. But I do think he would have gotten drafted in that first round. That's the kind of season he had as a freshman and the expectations they had out of him. And for him to still be there 4 years later is pretty incredible. But he's one of those guys that if his shot starts going down, man, he's as tough as any guard in the country. But he has really struggled shooting the ball. He struggled to get involved, although they're coming off of a game where he didn't shoot the ball that well, but I think he had 9 assists and got everyone else involved. And, Anthony Cowan is one of those guys. He was, I think you would probably, you hate to say this, but you'd probably look at his career as maybe not reaching the heights that a lot of people expected it to get to if he was going to be in college for 4 years.
Yeah, and then, of course, down low, they've got a formidable presence. Yeah, athletic, big athletic dude.
Jalen Smith's a big dude that he could step out and hit three-pointers. He hurt Indiana bad in their first game. He made 2 big three-pointers in the first half. And Indiana had a decent lead at one point at Maryland, and he stepped out and made a couple of big threes, and they went on a gigantic run. And he was pretty much the reason for all of that. And he's big inside. He can block shots. His post moves are adequate. They're not great. I don't think he would kill Indiana just from the inside, but where he becomes a matchup nightmare is he can step out to that 3-point line. And, I think Indiana has been exposed from the standpoint of if Joey Brunk has a weakness or something that Indiana struggles to do, it's get the big guys to be able to be out on the floor and defend a guy who can make a 3-pointer. And they're going to have to do that against Iowa with Luka Garza. And there's so many big guys, Oturu from Minnesota, so many big guys in this league that can not just score inside, but they can step out and make that big 3-pointer.
But if their big guy's going to beat you, wouldn't you rather him beat you out there instead?
Not this one. I mean, yeah, if Garza's going to beat you, I would. But I'm telling you, I think Jalen Smith's the best 3-pointer on this Maryland team, and I think he could get hot enough to make 5 or 6 of them. So no, This is not the guy we want to stand out there and shoot 3-pointers. He can get hot. He did it in their last ball game, and he's not just done it against Indiana. He's done it repeatedly throughout the season. He's a guy that At Northwestern, they were down by, I want to say, as much as 18 points in the first half. And a big reason that they were able to come back in that game was because of Jalen Smith. And he's good. He's really good.
For those of you looking for Clark, we were not able to connect with him this morning. We'll get him rescheduled. I think he's doing the game here on Sunday between Indiana and Maryland, but we'll get Clark back on. But has there been a game where Maryland has been successful with him being the big outside shooter?
With Jalen Smith?
Yeah.
Man, I think he's done a little bit of it in a lot of their games. I think I know in the Indiana game he hurt Indiana bad, stepping out and making those shots. The game with Northwestern just the other night, I mean, they were getting their butt kicked. I mean, they were getting drilled, and he was able to in that game. He was able to step out, make some big shots. He got them going. Once he made a shot, it seemed like they all started making shots. I was going to look up what his stats were. Jalen Smith. Yeah, I mean, he was 2 for 5 from the three-point line in that game. He had 25 points and 11 rebounds. I mean, he was obviously a huge part of, that game for them. Against Purdue, he was also 2 of 5 from the three-point line. He had 18 points and 10 rebounds in that game. So he's been the real consistent focal point for them. And, he's a big 6'11" guy with long arms standing inside. And so, I mean, you can't guard him with, I don't think Justin Smith can guard him, although, to be honest with you, I might try that. I might try somebody. I think if you could take Justin Smith away from them, I think that you put yourself in a much better position to limit them from scoring. Because believe me, they don't score the basketball that well. I mean, I'm mentioning their best shooter, I think, from the outside. Anthony Cowan has really struggled to shoot from the three-point line this year. I was going to see, I can't remember the other guy's name's Wiggins. They've got a Wiggins guy that is, anybody remember his name? Oh, yeah, Aaron Wiggins is his name. I mean, he's struggled to shoot the ball. He's supposed to be a big-time shooter. He's only averaging 10 points a game. And, they're a team that when they get it going, they're supposed to be – that's why they were rated so high to start the season out. I mean, they were supposed to be a team that could score the basketball pretty easily, and they've not done it. They've struggled to score. But they got down by 18 at Northwestern and figured out a way to come back and win.
Talk about how about Maryland's schedule? So they travel to Indiana on Sunday. Then they follow it up. They go back home. Number 19 Iowa comes to visit. Then number 24 Rutgers comes to visit. Then they go to number 21 Illinois. Then they get a break with Nebraska. Then you go to number 11 Michigan State.
Yeah, and look at the back half of their schedule. They finished in the last 5 games with at Ohio State, at Minnesota, Michigan State at home, at Rutgers, and Michigan at home. How you like to finish your year with that schedule? That's why I keep saying everyone says Indiana has the hardest schedule remaining in the country. And, man, you look at the way some of these are set up. I mean, I'd rather have Indiana's finish to the year. Indiana finishes the year with at Purdue, at Illinois, Minnesota at home, and Wisconsin at home. I would take that over this schedule that Maryland has. That's for sure.
Well, they're pretty much all the same because they all play each other. So
yeah, I know. It's the truth. I mean, that's definitely the truth. That's the way it is. And everyone's all the games. We could look at everybody's schedule, and heck, I'm sure Purdue fans can make an argument of how tough their schedule is. Everyone can say that in the Big Ten because all the games are good.
I was looking forward to having Clark on today because I was really looking forward to talking about Ohio State, and not from a rubbing it in standpoint, just from a standpoint of what the hell is. I mean, this is very, very similar to what happened to Indiana last year.
It is. You're right.
Because there was you're like, all right, what the hell's going on? Because there was nothing visibly wrong, but you knew something was wrong, and it's the same with Ohio State.
Yeah.
Something is wrong. Rotten in Denmark.
Sorry, I was trying to count something up here. So they started the year out.
He's used his hands, his fingers, and his toes.
Yeah, sorry, I'd take my socks off. They started the year out 9-0 and 11-1. They had a loss at Minnesota, was their first loss of the year, but they had wins early on against Cincinnati and Villanova,
Kentucky,
North Carolina when North Carolina was good.
Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky. It all started when they had the home loss right before New Year's against West Virginia. Actually, it wasn't at home. It was in Cleveland. But that game right there really. I mean, obviously, that's pretty easy to say. They've lost for 6 out of 7, including that game, since the 29th of December. But yeah, I mean, that's just to mention a team that can beat Kentucky, North Carolina, Penn State. I mean, they beat Penn State by 30. Villanova, Cincinnati, a team that can beat all of those teams and then lose at home to Wisconsin, lose at home to Minnesota now. They went on the road to Penn State and just got shellacked. They got beat here at Indiana fairly easily.
That loss at home to Minnesota last night is kind of the final nail. Like, all right, something is rotten in Denmark.
Now they're throwing out flares trying to figure out, how do they save the season? Because now they're at the point when the season could definitely implode. I mean, they're 12-7, and outside, if you eliminate Nebraska and Northwestern, I think everyone would agree they're the worst 2 teams in the Big Ten.
And the funny thing is, much like Indiana, as bad as it has been, they're not out of anything. They can still turn this around.
They definitely could turn it around. They've got the talent to do it. They've got a coach to do it. There is something, you were alluding to this when we started this conversation, and I don't think it could be more accurate, and we don't know what the answer is. But there's something going on within that program. There's an inner issue that we don't know about and probably will never know about. Only the people real close to the team will know it. But there's something going on with that team that's unexplainable. And they're going to have to get it fixed. They had some suspensions. They didn't really explain what those were all about. But, yeah, I mean, Ohio State, I think, was the surprise of the year in the Big Ten to start the season, and now they're the surprise negatively at this point in the season.
Absolutely a surprise, but there's all kinds of surprises. But the biggest surprise is going to be who wins the Big Ten, because you better watch out for Illinois. We'll talk about that and a lot more on the program today. Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana will join us later on as well. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle and Leary. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Friday, and we're back right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
You know, the environment in there is as good as it gets. Our fans, right now, when we play a home game, man, second to none. And it's a great feeling because, in this league, it just seems like every single night, man, it's almost impossible to find a way to pull through. But when you're at home, it's very important. And that was a big step for us tonight, being able to pull this one out. I give Michigan State a lot of credit. They took a big punch early, and as we knew they would, they came right back and sort of steamrolled the back 7 minutes of the first half. And then, the second half, our defense just wasn't as tough. We had a harder time on the ball screens. We didn't impact the ball as much. And when the ball gets sipped around with a team like that, they really stretched us from three. I give our guys credit, though. We found a way to kind of gut it out. Struggled from the foul line again, which is disappointing. But we were able to make enough plays.
That's Indiana's Coach Archie Miller talking about last night's big win over Sparty. We also got to hear from Tom Izzo as he talked about the same.
Maybe.
Or maybe we don't. You've got a beach ball. Basically what he said was, we got our tails kicked, but no, I'm just kidding. I wish I would have been in there. Here we go. Here's Tom Izzo talking about last night's lost Indiana.
A lot of emotions in a game like this. Totally disgusted and disappointed with the start. What was the worst we were down? Was it 18-4?
We were down 15 at one point.
That's 14, so 19-4, whatever we were down. I didn't think we guarded anybody early, and I uncharacteristically just kind of stayed calm and tried to get Cassius going, which is not easy. We thought that they were going to pound it inside, and our bigs did not do a very good job. Xavier did, but the other guys struggled with that. We're not very big, so that was a problem. Did a decent job on the boards after.
That's it. That's all enough of Tom Izzo. He's not
riveting excitement.
Yeah, riveting radio. That's had me on my seat, biting my nails. Where's the popcorn?
He used to be one of the. You could tell he's got some frustrations going on because he usually is a pretty. He's got a little energy in his voice, and he's a. I know he's disappointed in the loss, and I think after that Purdue loss by 29 points on the road, their last road game. I think he really wanted to see, if nothing else, he wanted to see a little bit better fight out of his team. And I know they came back from being down and all that, but, I think they made a lot of mistakes. And here's to Indiana's credit. I said this going into the game. I thought Indiana was a matchup problem for Michigan State because Xavier Tillman's a good defensive big guy on the inside, but Indiana's got two guys they can go to. And I didn't know who was going to guard that other guy. And I think the two big guys, their stats aren't crazy, but I think they opened a lot of other things up and opened up some driving lanes because they had a tough time guarding both bigs for Indiana.
And Indiana has great backups to those guys. Race Thompson playing some great minutes when he comes in, and Deron Davis for a little bit has been given great little minutes when he comes in. So they've really gotten great under support in those roles too.
Yeah, and it doesn't happen very often across the country where a team has two bigs on the floor at the same time. I mean, it's just not a thing anymore. And Indiana not only starts the game out that way, they're able to kind of continue that way throughout the game. Now, I still am going to say they're going to have games when they go a little bit smaller, or Trace Jackson Davis is going to have to become a little bit more mobile at stepping out and guarding somebody out on the wing and out on the 3-point line, because there's plenty of big guys that could step out there and make those shots. And, Joey Brunk's not going to be the guy that stands out there and defends somebody 22 feet from the basket. Just foot speed wise, there's no way Indiana can have him out there. So they're still going to have to be able to adjust and play with, only one big guy, but they're one of the teams right now that are throwing two big guys out there on the floor and saying, hey, figure out a way to guard this.
And then a lot of times people will see like Race Thompson's play where he comes in and is extraordinarily efficient and says, well, why don't you play all the time? Well, trust me, it's a lot easier to maintain that level of middle assertiveness for a shorter period than it is for an entire game. That's why sometimes you see these lapses and whatnot, but he's doing a great job. The entire team in that regard, they're becoming a force down low in this Big Ten.
Yeah, they are. And they're, they're playing to their strengths, which is, I think maybe a lot of the questions early on about the lineup and why things were happening the way that they were, not the Rob Finney situation, but in particular the Joey Brunk situation. And I was the leader of the pack in saying I thought he was playing way too many minutes. And, maybe that whole experiment and stuff and experience through the beginning part of the season is to the credit of Archie Miller, because right now, I just said it a few segments ago. I mean, Joey Brunk for the last 10 games has probably been the most consistent player for Indiana. I mean, he's what you're going to get from him, and he's pretty level across the board with that. He's going to be up there between 8 and 13 rebounds, and he's probably going to score somewhere between 8 and 13 points. And to have a guy like that you can count on all the time. I didn't think going into the season he was going to be that guy for Indiana.
It's funny. This team is one shooter away from being a top 5 team.
Really good. Yeah, really.
And I know that sounds a little crazy. I don't think that it is, though. I think that this could be a top 5 team if they had someone who could consistently hit the outside shot, because my gosh, who's going to stop him on the interior? We're sitting here talking about 4 different guys that come in and are effective when they're in there. And I think part of that's because, like Deron Davis, he knows his minutes are going to be limited. So when he's in there, he's given good play. Race Thompson knows that he wants to play more. Race Thompson wants to play more minutes, but he also knows he's going to be limited when he's in there, and he's given great time when he's in there. Hopefully he gets through this injury all right. I'd hate to see him have another setback. That would suck. I would imagine it's anything, I wouldn't think, because he seemed like he was moving around okay.
Yeah, I mean, the shooter piece is kind of that consistent shooter is really the last key. That's why I said on the postgame show last night, let's not give up on Devontae Green yet, because I still think Indiana's going to need him to win some ball games, and he's going to be a big part of this team, I believe. I mean, as long as he keeps his head right, it's tough. It's got to be very difficult as a senior to go from – coming into the season, you probably figured you'd be the leading scorer on the team, and Things have just not necessarily worked out that way for him. But believe me, there's still going to be plenty of situations and times when Devontae Green's going to be a big part of wins for this Indiana team. And in order for them to be really, really good, like I'm telling you, the Baylors of the world and teams like that can play big and physical just like Indiana does, but they've got a plethora of guys that can stand out there at the three-point line and knock shots down. And that's going to be a key piece for this team. We're never going to describe this team as a great outside shooting team, but they've got to be adequate. They've got to be able to make 6 to 10 three-pointers in a ball game and not shoot, 25 to 30 of them to get to that 6 to 10 makes.
Yeah, they if they could have hit 2 or 3 more last night, that would have been right in the wheelhouse because they got outshot. They got outshot from outside last night.
And they didn't make their first three-pointer. I mean, they had a 7-point lead at halftime, and they made their first three-pointer as the buzzer sounded at the end of the half. I mean, they didn't rely on the shot at all. I think they had only taken maybe 4 three-pointers in the first half. I mean, it was not a game where they were relying on it. They weren't even really looking for it. But again, what's the easiest shot? Indiana right now, I think, has improved a ton on feeding the ball inside. And it's something they can still get a lot better at. They can still feed the post. I think they need to feed the post, almost every time down the floor that they don't get a fast break layup. But the easiest shot to make from the outside, everyone who's studied basketball at all in their life knows the easiest shot and the highest percentage shot of three-pointer that goes down is the one that gets kicked back out from the inside. And Indiana is doing the first piece of that. They're getting the ball inside, and their big guys are not selfish. Joey Brunk is a very willing passer. Trace Jackson-Davis, a very willing passer when they get it on the inside. So that ball can be kicked out. It's just time for guys to start stepping up and making shots.
Tebow talks about something I wanted to mention, that he says that I think the crowd had rattled Michigan State. They will rattle Maryland on Sunday too, because Assembly Hall is louder than Mackey. It was a great environment last night. Michigan State took them out for a little bit, but that crowd came to play, man. They were ready to go before the opening tip. The students were in their seats 40 minutes prior to tip. They were frothed. I'm pretty sure that they had been enjoying some beverages.
They had a long day.
They were ready to go. That was their first game back since way back in early December. It was an electric environment, and I think it's going to be the same on Sunday because that was the first one back. Now you gave them a little taste. You gave them a little red meat. So Sunday, Maryland comes in 1:00. They're going to be up, fresh off of a Sunday morning hangover. They're going to be ready to roll when the Terrapins come to town.
Yeah, I mean, the students were at Assembly Hall several hours before the game, and it was fairly chilly and raining yesterday, and the students were lined up, all the way around the building early on, so you knew they were excited and ready to play. And
do they get seats based on that?
I think it's first come. I think it's first come, first serve.
I was wondering because when I arrived, I noticed a big group, a gathering there off to the side, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on over there?
Yeah, they line up there on that south,
I thought I was missing something. So
southeast corner of the building.
Okay, because they didn't used to do that. They used to have
assigned
tickets.
Seats, yeah.
And Duke does that because when I was down there for the Indiana Duke game last year, man, they open those doors and them students come rolling in trying to get the best seat there right on the floor. But I was wondering why. So that's perfect. So that's why they were there. That's great then. That gets them there early and gets them fired up.
Yeah, and that'll be, that's when you see them camping out and getting there early. And nobody hated that late 8:30 start more than those kids who had been out there all day long in the cold. But that's the college environment. That's the fun college environment that I in Tim's statement, I think the crowd definitely affected the game. I don't think Michigan State was rattled, but believe me, when you play in a place that's that loud, you notice it. And the crowd was a factor. Cassius Winston's never going to get rattled. These guys have played in Assembly Hall many times. They've played in some of the loudest arenas in the country. It's a factor in the game. That's why teams' record on the road is not near as good as what it is at home. But I mean, Indiana's crowd is just a little bit different than the average crowd. I mean, they are They're excitable. They're finally they are bursting at the door right now, trying to bust this team through into being a national powerhouse again. And the second they get a taste of that, which beating a team like Michigan State is giving them a little bit of a taste for that, they're going to start being even a bigger factor in these games.
I think that's 5 straight wins over a ranked team at home for Indiana.
Is it?
Yeah. They were like trying to shush the media from talking about that last night. I'm like, get out of here with that. Like it's a jinx or something. I'm like, dude, this is real world. Whatever. But 5 straight wins over a ranked team. And Indiana's got a long history of beating ranked teams in Assembly Hall. They had a streak going at one point. I think they had beat 6 straight teams ranked in top 4. They're
going to put it on the line again on Sunday because Maryland's ranked 17th in the country, so they're going to have another opportunity right off the bat.
And if Indiana beats Maryland, another ranked team, and that gives them their 7th straight win over a ranked team, you talk about building your resume. We could be talking about this Indiana team. I've been very reserved because I haven't thought that there was a reason to talk about them in this light, but if they can rise up and meet some of these challenges like they did last night, and if they take care of business again on Sunday, of course, there's a lot of season left. But this is a team that could fight for a Big Ten championship, but more importantly, fight for a 3 seed maybe. I mean, it's not out of the question.
It's not out of the question. I mean, there's a lot of work that would have to happen in order for that to be the case. They're going to have to win, some games on the road that, looking at it right now, okay, so if you go back and look at the schedule and you really analyze it, we all know it doesn't work this way. But Indiana's still got games at Ohio State. Ohio State's not playing that great right now. I mean, that game's next week, so it's not like it's way down the road. They've got at Michigan coming up here in the middle of February. Michigan is down there in the bottom of the Big Ten as well. I'm sure Isaiah Livers will be back by that point, and they'll be playing better. They've got at Minnesota, which is a very winnable game. They've got at Purdue, should be a very winnable game. I mean, they've got plenty of opportunities to put themselves in that discussion where if they can go on a run, you're right. I mean, Michigan State's going to have a couple more losses. I mean, I think we said it to start the year. I thought the winner of the Big Ten might have as many as 5 losses, and I think you said 4. You're probably closer to right. But, Michigan State also, they struggle to score the ball a little bit too. And when we talk about the teams that might
– You keep talking about Michigan State. You might have to start talking about Illinois.
No, I was just getting ready to say, when we talk about a team that might only have 4 losses, it might be Illinois by the end of the year, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're playing well. They're playing confident. And, again, there's nothing more dangerous than a confident team.
Yeah, and they've got, here's – I say this about teams a lot. And like you take a team like Nebraska, and the difficulty for them is they've just got a weird makeup. Like they don't have any big guys. They don't have a post presence. They play with with real short lineups. Indiana, the thing I think is good about Indiana is they've got a couple of good big guys. They've got a couple of good guards. They've got a couple of good wings. They've got the makeup of what you need for an all-around good team. And those guys are good both offensively and defensively. Now, when you look at a team like Illinois, they've got every piece that you need too. They've got a really good big guy. They probably got the best freshman, one of the best freshmen in the country as a big guy, and he's just as big. He's a monster on the inside. They've got some really good guard play that all of a sudden they're knocking down shots now. When they make shots, they're a pretty darn good team. And, they themselves, they go to Michigan on Saturday, tomorrow. So if they just won a big game at Purdue, they've already won at Wisconsin. They're a team that could be very. They've already beat. We talked about this. If you remember the very first game of the year, we were doing our post-game show for Indiana, and Illinois was playing at Maryland, and they had like a 17-point lead on Maryland. And somehow Maryland came back and hit a shot at the end of that game and ended up beating them. Otherwise, they'd be sitting alone atop the Big Ten right now. But the if ands and buts and candy and nuts, we'd all have a good Christmas. But Illinois is also, along with Indiana and Michigan State, and probably Rutgers, kind of separated themselves out a little bit as the tougher teams in the Big Ten.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got a ton more coming up here on the program. Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana is going to join us in the next hour. We've got a lot more basketball to talk about as well. Lots coming up this weekend. Some Big Ten games coming up tomorrow. Illinois and Michigan. Nebraska's at Rutgers. Tonight you got Whiskey at Purdue. We'll talk about all that as well. So plenty to get to. We got more questions and comments coming in on the text line, and you can keep those coming if you like. 812-269-6367. We're coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. You're listening to the Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Coyle and Larry, and we're back right after this.
Remember when we used to sing
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
This is former Indiana basketball player Greg Green. Keep up with the Hoosiers on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle and Leary with you here on this TGIF Friday, January 24th, man. We're almost through all of January, Todd.
It just doesn't make any sense.
But
I feel like it was New Year's literally last weekend.
Oh, yeah. We're dealing with Christmas. You're like, it's crazy. But it's actually good because that means we're, if you can get through January and February, woohoo! It's all rolling from there. And we're almost through January, pretty much unscathed.
As soon as you get to that point, it's golf season.
It's not too far away, that's for sure. Clark Kellogg didn't make it with us on today. We apologize for that. we'll get him rescheduled. He's been on with us before, and he's a great guy. Something must have come up, so we'll get Clark back on and working on some great stuff for next week for you guys. So you never know who we're gonna have on. It's just getting fun. This was a great week. I can't remember who all we had on, but it was a fun week.
It was. We had some good guests, but we had just a good week. It's so much easier to be excited and talk about stuff when Indiana plays well, and they came off of last weekend they came off of a road win, their first road win of the year, and then they're able to follow it up yesterday. We got to look forward to the Michigan State game all week, and they followed it up with a win. So pretty successful week overall.
Yeah, and man, it's always you got the women. We haven't talked a lot about the women, but the women they were rolling, and they've hit themselves a little speed bump,
hit a skid,
little skid there. Just not playing perfectly well, and it's kind of bit them a few times. But they came back and got them a win last night, though. So congratulations, and on the road, no less. They were at
good road
Penn State. So you go on the road and you talk about breaking. Is there a better way to break out of a slump than to go on the road and win?
Nope, there's really not. I mean, that is it cures a lot of things, and it's not like they've lost to bad teams. I mean, they've lost 3 games in a row, but they've been to ranked teams. So I think just the one loss that was at home was the real one that stood out, having a decent sized lead against Northwestern, and they ended up getting beaten that game. But then going back on the road Penn State's not that great this year, but they've been a good team in the past. But Indiana now they've got 2 big games next week, both of them at home. So give them a little chance to start feeling better about themselves. Kind of the same scenario Indiana had. They got that one road win, and they were able to come home for 2 big home games, and the girls team has a chance to do the exactly same thing.
Absolutely, and looking forward to them doing that because they were headed. A minute ago I talked about the men's team, how their trajectory is such that if they can continue to not just hold serve, but do what they did last night and get a win Sunday against Maryland, and then go split 2 road games the following week. If they do things like that their trajectory is going up. The women, they were already on that trajectory, and then they hit the skid that you mentioned, and it's kind of derailed it a little bit. But the good thing about the season that they have had, the teams that they have beaten, they can recapture that pretty quickly because they've got a notch on their belt that South Carolina, who's the number 1 team in the country, their only loss is to Indiana. So this is a team that's I think that they rebound. I think they're just going through a midseason little deal, and they're going to come out on the other side.
And Archie Miller made a comment about this just a few weeks ago, and I think he kind of skated through the comment, but it's something that really is true, and you see it happen all across the country. It is teams go through, changes in their personality and the way that they play, and they go through some adversity at different times throughout the year, whether it's injury or whether it's guys not shooting the ball well, or whether it's, guys losing their confidence or whatever it might be. You go through and you fight through these battles throughout the year, and the timing of those battles is really what determines how your season plays itself out. And I think, Michigan State's a great example of this because they over the years, I think everyone could go back and pick out a part throughout their season where, they really struggled. And you're like, okay, well, this is finally the Michigan State team that Tom Izzo's not going to be able to turn around. And by the end of the Big Ten season, they're right there and they get it figured out. And there's something to that. I don't even know how to really describe it, but teams go through these lulls a little bit, and the season is long. Like it doesn't seem long because football season seems so long and baseball season seems so long, but this basketball season drags on, and you get into these dog days of January and February, and man, it's difficult. I say this every week. I'm giving you a really long answer here, but we say this every week I do. Think about the guys today. I mean, think about I do this all the time because my body used to hurt so bad, and if you think about today, Rob Finney is going to be limping around all day, and his ankles are hurt, his toes will hurt, his knees will hurt. I mean, remember how many guys back in in my era, I mean, how many of us used to wear knee braces? And I'm telling you, in practice, everybody wore knee braces. It was just, you just hurt the day after a game, and people will, IU fans will rest on the big victory all day today, but the players don't. I mean, they're in there getting treatment. They're hurt today.
Clark texted his apologies for spacing on the call this morning. I should have reminded him because we scheduled this at the beginning of the week. That's why I try not to schedule too far in advance for this very reason. I should have sent a reminder to him.
Well, Indiana plays on CBS again on a Sunday when they play at Michigan in the middle of February, so we'll get him for that game.
Absolutely. And we've got Dickie V coming up at some point. Does Indiana have an ESPN game where Dickie V's going to be on it? We're just going to get Dickie V on.
They play a couple of the Purdue game. I'll bet you he'll be doing the Purdue game.
Is that here?
It is here, yes.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to look forward to it. I love having guests on. I mean, I know the fans love it. People like Clark Kellogg, Dick Vitale, Gus Johnson. We'll get Gus on, too, because I know we'll be doing another Fox game, surely.
Oh, yeah, several more.
I haven't gotten to rewatch the game last night. I started to, but it was so late. It was like 2 a.m. I fell asleep, but I'm looking forward to rewatching
I usually
the game
have
today.
watched at least some of parts of the game that I wanted to be able to comment on, but I will definitely admit I did not watch any of this yet.
Yeah, it's Ohio State's ESPN, so that game may not be on. They may not carry that one. They may have to.
It'll probably be on ESPN too.
ESPNU.
Possible.
Boot that one, man. Ohio State, they're not doing too well. But yeah. So more text into the text line. Now I lost them. Where'd they go? Got too many coming in. You guys are doing a great job of hitting it up today. Jennifer down in
Evansville.
Where'd he go? Evansville. Said, what could his team do as far as finishing as a Big Ten champion?
Yeah, I mean, the real simple answer to that's win on the road. But here's the way to look at this. This is where I view Indiana, as a more formidable opponent than I think a lot of people do, especially people nationally. Is, let's say right now, I think we would all agree Penn State's playing really well. I mean, they're a team that's playing really good. And Indiana is going to go to Penn State next Wednesday. So following this Maryland game, let's just say Indiana wins the Maryland game. So they're coming off of, 3 wins in a row. 1 is a road win. They're playing on, they're playing against a team that, over history, Indiana's been obviously a better program than Penn State. It's a good opportunity for Penn State. But if you think about how Penn State prepares for Indiana, I'm telling you, teams don't like to prepare for Indiana. They think Indiana has the ceiling that you and I think. And that gives Indiana a chance. When you talk about what do they have to do to win in the Big Ten, they don't even really have to surprise us with anything. If they play to their potential, they're going to have a chance to win every single game that's on this schedule.
Tebow texted a question in. This is off the subject. Did you pick your jersey number or was it assigned? What number would he pick if oh, that's it.
Yep, you get to pick it.
Unless someone else has your number.
Yeah, I actually, so I was 30 all through high school, and I wanted to be number 3 when I went to college.
Jay Edwards.
But Jay Edwards was just coming off of being number 3, and I did not want to have to try to be
Jay Edwards.
Because those are tough shoes to fill. That dude was so good.
He was stupid good as far as clutch. I talk about this all the time. We've had this discussion, and it's a debate because all it can be is a debate. There is no right or wrong. But to me, he may be the greatest clutch shooter in Indiana history. I just think
totally agree.
He's so clutch, and he can shoot it from outside or take it to the rim. And that's something Steve Alford couldn't do.
Yeah, I mean, there's no – Steve Alford was always my favorite player growing up. No question about that. But you want to talk about, you've got the ball out of bounds with 8 seconds to go and you're down by 2, I would not bet against Jay Edwards. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Ron in Arizona hits us up on the text line. Great game last night. I was happier than a toddler Ryan Shaddy running around in his cream and crimson onesie. Only downer was I couldn't find the aftershock happens. That is my fault, Ron. I said this to Todd last night. When you have an intern now, and this is one of the things that this intern is going to be charged with, because we're at the games, and so we have to hustle afterwards, and you got to set up the equipment, and I hate that part because it takes me away from focusing on the game. It drives me insane when I can't. So I forgot to hit it for Spreaker. I had it set up and ready to go, and I just simply forgot to hit the button to send it out on Spreaker, Ron. So my bad on that. Just no, it's usually available there. But Facebook Live is where if you're it's still where? Oh, yeah, it's still on Facebook Live. If you're not on Facebook, Ron, you just go on Facebook Live on Indiana Sports Beat, and you can find it right there. All of them are on there. But, yeah, sorry about that. But, yeah, that's the one thing. And then I turned to Todd and I said that. I go, no big deal. Probably no one listens that way. Very next morning we get a comment.
On my own personal text line, I've had a couple people text me in the last minute telling us that the broadcast stopped. So we might just want to have
this broadcast stop.
I just got text back. It's back on.
Huh.
I think we had a little lull there for a minute. I don't know what happened, but I got 2 texts in a row from from a couple people saying the broadcast went out. But we're back. We're back.
All right. Well, there you go. There you go, Ron. Sorry about that. That was my fault. My bad. So hopefully you don't make that mistake again. What was that, Jake?
No, he didn't say anything. He was just checking to make sure we were still good. We're good.
Yeah, that's perfect. But yeah, I hate doing all that producing and all that stuff. It drives me nuts. So we have an intern, so I'm going to get him trained and I can stop worrying about that stuff.
What's the game for tonight? What's the
Big Ten game?
Yep.
Whiskey at Purdue.
Oh, yeah, Whiskey at Purdue. That's a big one.
Whiskey Tango at Purdue.
That's a big one.
Whiskey Tango Boiler. You know what? Wisconsin could very easily win that game. I know that Purdue is beating some people there, and I'm not saying that they're going to win that game, but, man, they've been playing well, but they're playing so freaking solid. They're just not making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, and they've got a couple of guys that can shoot the ball. I mean, Roovers, is that how you say his name? I can never really tell how you say his name, but that guy has surprised, I think, a lot of people in how well he's played. And I mean, we could say that about some big guy from Wisconsin for like the last 60 years in a row. They always have a guy that ends up, overachieving, I think. And that guy has played really well. And they've had some guys start to step up and make shots. I mean, when they Pritzel and when they get Brad Davidson and some of those guys that are knocking down shots, they're a much, much different team.
Yeah, looking forward to that. But Sunday's game, we talked about Indiana, and it'd be timely too because do the rankings come out Sunday night or Monday morning?
I think Monday morning, at like noon.
It's going to be certain timely because if Indiana gets that win over Maryland, people have already seen the big win over Michigan State, and when that's fresh in your mind, you're right. I think they're going to jump up into like 17. They're not going to be 24 or some crap like that. I wouldn't think. I think they're going to jump in there pretty strongly.
Yep, I agree with that. I mean, Indiana fans. So if you're looking at overall, chance to win the Big Ten, I think that it'll shake itself out a little bit later on anyway. But Indiana fans got to root for the Boilermakers tonight. I mean, Indiana's tied with Wisconsin right now at 5-3 in the Big Ten, and this is one Indiana fans could use Wisconsin to take a loss.
Well, in a normal year, you could say, "Oh, look at the schedule. Maybe they can find it somewhere else." In this year, no, you take it wherever you can find them.
Yep, no doubt.
Hey, we got a lot more coming up here on the program. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle O'Leary coming to you from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana is going to join us next. Stay tuned. Back with that right after this.
Hello, everybody. everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Coyle Larry here on this TGIF Friday. Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana joins us now. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well, guys. It's a nice day to wake up on a Friday morning after a big win by the Hoosiers, and all of a sudden, just things are a lot better when they come up with a big win like that. That's for sure.
Winning is certainly always makes everything a lot better, and it certainly did so last night. Indiana gets a huge win over a Michigan State team that was leading the Big Ten standings, and that just continues to put this Big Ten conference in a ray of disarray.
Yeah, I mean, it's I still think Michigan State's the best team in the league, but last night Indiana went out and got them and got off to that great start, and then just kind of hung on. And I was really impressed with how they finished that game, though. I mean, it's just when you're tied with just a couple minutes to go with Michigan State, I mean, that's usually the games they win. And for Indiana to score on 3 of their last 4 possessions and pull that sucker out was just something to behold. I mean, that's what you kind of wait for to see, as a team is maturing as to how they handle those, big pressure situations like that. It's all about how you finish. And, that game last night, they did a great job of wrapping that thing up and, getting a huge win, because that's, all of a sudden, it's like winning twice when you beat a team that's a game ahead of you like that. They've gone, now they're just, within reach, and, another big chance on Sunday to make another big statement with Maryland coming into town.
Well, especially a big win when you don't have to go back up there to play them on the road.
Exactly. I mean, that's a huge break in the schedule to avoid a road game like that. And, and it's going to be weird. I mean, it's like, 6-2 is the best mark right now with Michigan State and Illinois. And if you kind of factor that out, it seems like if you can get to 15-5, you probably win the league. And, it's just that competitive and, that hard to win on the road. And, we talked about this yesterday. I mean, it surprised me because I really thought the way that Michigan State lineup is that they'd be a tough guard for Indiana. And, I didn't think they could keep Winston under control. I thought Michigan State would hit some 3-pointers. And, and I quite frankly thought their big guys and our big guys would kind of balance each other out. But that wasn't the case. Joey Brunk and Trace Jackson Davis took it to them. And, they definitely won the battle inside, and they got a lot of paint points throughout the course of that game. And anytime you can out rebound Michigan State, that's a huge deal. I mean, that just doesn't happen this year, any year. I mean, they came into the game ranked number 3 in the country in rebound average. It's just a hard team to beat on the boards. And, Indiana did a great job of that, and really, especially when they were building that early lead, limiting them to one shot, and then same thing down the stretch. Got a lot of big rebounds, late in that game to make sure that that one extra possession wound up on Indiana's side.
You hear that, Todd Leary? Get to 15-5, win the league.
I don't disagree with it. I mean, 5. It may be difficult to get Michigan State to 5 losses, but then again, it may not. I mean, they've got a tough finish to their schedule. In their last week of the year, they play at Maryland, at Penn State, and Ohio State at home. So, I mean, yeah, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for teams to get beat. And like I said, I'm not so sure that team that only has 5 losses isn't going to be named Illinois.
Well, that could very well be. I had the chance to see Illinois Tuesday night when they played Purdue, and they looked really good. And it's kind of surprised me a little bit because, I had been catching Illinois on TV early in the year. I mean, I caught all their losses. Every time I watched them play on TV, they lost. So I wasn't all that impressed with Illinois, but they've got the bigs, they've got an excellent point guard, they got guys who can hit threes, and they seem to be kind of a little bit like this Indiana team, kind of coming together nicely. So it's I wouldn't be a bit surprised if to see Illinois right there in this race all the way to the end either.
Well, now Indiana with a good opportunity after beating Michigan State, with Maryland coming in to get back-to-back wins over ranked teams, and that would be like 7 wins over ranked teams in a row at home at Simon Scott Assembly Hall.
Yeah, it's and obviously they've already played Maryland and did not fare well, but they just it was one of those like really, really bad stretches in that game. And it was 36-33 with 12 minutes to go in that game, and they know they can hang with them. And quite frankly, Maryland has probably been the most Jekyll and Hyde of any Big Ten team in regards to home and road stuff, because they're perfect at home and couldn't win on the road till they finally beat Northwestern, which is. That's if you're going to steal a road win, that's it. But they have not looked good in their other 3 road losses. So it's just to come in here and I think having already played them, I think Indiana will have a pretty good feel for them. And it's Todd, you know this well. I mean, it's really more the most important team right now to Indiana is Indiana. I mean, it's just for how they want to play their game. They just need to keep getting better, and they need to keep the things they do well. They need to keep doing well, and because it never fails. Like last night, I mean, Michigan State got back in that game because we're taking some stupid perimeter shots and being kind of lazy with the ball, and as soon as they started working it back inside and getting some low post touches, it was leading to either low post baskets or good looks. From the guys who can hit some threes. This Indiana team is good, but they're not great. So what they need to do is just always do what they do best.
Yeah, and part of that maturity that you're talking about, and I was noticing it in that second half, is the bad shots that they were taking or the less quality shots they were getting was a result of the inside guys not touching the ball. And the difference is a month ago, they would have finished the game out with that same formula. And these guys turned it around with about 10 minutes to go. And all of a sudden, Joey Brunk and Trace Jackson Davis started touching the ball again. And they don't have to necessarily score, like you said. I mean, it just leads to better shots. Whether they've got good interior passing, good things happen when those guys touch the ball, and it's not always them scoring. And so but that's part of the maturity, I think, in this team. And that's the thing I was probably the most impressed with, because stat-wise, there wasn't anybody across the board, including Joey Brunk and Trace Jackson-Davis, that you would look at and say they played a great game last night on the offensive end. Defensively, I think they did. But, overall, when those guys touch the ball, it just leads to better things. And I think that's the maturity over the last month that we wouldn't have seen a month ago is then they turned it back around and those guys started touching the ball again at the end of the game.
Right. And I think the biggest thing with this team is, they needed to find that confidence in themselves that they didn't have, when the season started. None of us really knew if this team was going to be any good or not. And I think that filtered all the way down to the players and the, coaches on this staff too. Like, I don't think they really had an idea as to how good they could be. And, now, they are counting the overtime game with Nebraska, they're 5-0, in games decided by 5 points or less. So those close games this year, they're finding a way to win them. And, and when you can do that, it just, success breeds success. The next time it comes around where, the ball's in Al Durham's hands, with a 2-point game and he's got a wide open three where he's got the confidence to not only to take it, but the confidence to think he's going to make it, and that was a huge three for him last night. And, and Joey Brunk's the same way. I mean, the kid is just a tireless worker. He just, he's always around, finding a way to make things happen. And, I just, was talking last night. It's like, this team would be lost without him right now.
Well, what have you got coming up for the people to read, Tom?
Well, just obviously still a whole bunch of stuff from the game last night, and then we'll be previewing the Maryland game as well as we get to that later today. We got an interesting story on our my colleague up in Michigan State. Had some interesting comments about Indiana recruiting in his story today, so we're going to kind of flush those out a little bit too about some of the negativity that some recruits who are at Michigan State who were recruited by Indiana said about how the negative fan base and the trolls on Twitter, treating players badly, and it being, it definitely impacting their recruiting. So it's, that's been brought up before, where the fans don't realize the impact they have on 17-year-old kids sometimes. But that was in there, so we're going to flesh that out and do a bit more of that, and just keep it going. I mean, obviously, it's now we need to pay attention to this Big Ten race. I mean, Indiana's in it, so certainly we'll go full bore and keep everything going. And everything last night was great. I was happy to know last night, yesterday I was the number one college site, on our entire Sports Illustrated network, because of that game, and people are reading and people devouring the content, and I'm certainly very appreciative of it.
Well, all right, man. We appreciate it and look forward to it next week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Sunday.
Sounds good, guys. Talk to you soon.
See you, brother.
Have a good one. There's Tom Brew from Sports Illustrated Indiana. Hey, we got a little bit more to go to finish up the show when we come back here to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. You're listening to Coyle and Leary. We're back after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Yeah, all right. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle Leary, a little bit of Stevie Wonder for you. Jim Coyle with you here, coming to you from the golf club at Eagle Point Studios. What's so funny?
I can't remember who it was. Oh, Shaq. Have you ever heard Shaq talk about who's Shaq talk about that's not really blind? Is it Ray Charles?
Well, he's really blind.
If you've never seen it, go look at the bit where Shaq talks about one day he was on an elevator and this blind guy, supposed blind guy, it's one of those guys. I think it's Stevie Wonder. It is Stevie Wonder. He said Stevie Wonder got on the elevator by himself and Shaq said he never said a word, didn't move, didn't make any noise, and all of a sudden out of nowhere Stevie Wonder turns his head and looks at him and goes, "What's up, Big Diesel?" So he has a theory that Stevie Wonder's not really blind.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Don't think that's quite the case.
I don't think it is either, but it's a pretty funny interview.
Yes, it is. That's just hilarious hearing those guys. Absolutely. Text into the show from Tommy if I can get this thing pulled up. Man, where did it go? I hate when they come in different forms, and that one just did. But let me pull it up on the normal portion. Bam. There we go. Yeah, Stevie Wonder. All that for that. I already knew the answer.
He's proven my Stevie Wonder. It's a pretty funny interview, though.
Tebow says, my Bob Knight crystal ball shows IU going into the Illinois game in a three-way tie for first with Michigan State and Illinois.
Why does it have to be a Bob Knight crystal ball?
Just don't let it go.
Okay.
Ron in Arizona in Scottsdale. Oh, we've already read that one. Perfect. Archie loves his home court advantage always. Thanks to the crowd. He did so last night. He sent a tweet out either last night or this morning I saw, thanking the crowd for the great environment last night. And it was a really, really good environment. And that's important because if you're going to have a home court advantage, use the hell out of it. I mean, Indiana's one of those teams, one of those programs that should have a home court advantage every game.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. So how many people who mentioned these comments about how loud it is in Assembly Hall, Tim, how many of these people have been to a game in, the Kohl Center in Wisconsin, or been to Columbus, or, been to Mackey Arena and been to these other arenas? If you've done that and then you hear what it's really like in Assembly Hall, you realize what a difference in the home court advantage it is. I mean, Indiana is It's crazy. It's loud. The fans are smart about when they cheer. For the most part, from the student section, it's pretty clean. It's clean enough.
Well, I think part of it too is that people forget or don't realize is the construction of Assembly Hall, as horribly as it is from a view standpoint. And let me tell you, from a viewer standpoint, it sucks.
It does.
It's not. This is not made for athletic events.
For 17,000 plus seats, there's only about 6,000 good ones.
Yeah, but it's like the seating for theater facing each other on each side of the court is what it is. But because it's built that way and so vertical, that all that volume just rains down onto the court. And it is loud as hell down there when it's loud. I mean, no one knows that better than you.
Here's the interesting part of that is when you look at when you're up in the stands. So I have been obviously on the floor. I have been, in the seats that are in the bleachers, kind of down on the ends that are still kind of down by the floor. And I've been up in the stands. The only place I've really never, ever watched a game from, I've been to the balcony, but I've never watched a game from up there. But it's so much louder on the floor than it is, for instance, like let's say 15 rows up on the side. The acoustics of everything, you're right. It sends it down to the floor. And it's such a different feel. I've got friends that have the seats that are right behind where the person sings the national anthem. And here's an example is when you're down there, and it's been a lady as of recently, but when whoever is down there singing, when they're almost right next to you, you can barely hear them. But when you're up in the stands, you can hear the singing really well. Whatever goes through the sound system, you can hear really well up in the stands. But you can't hear it that well down on the floor, and it's completely flip-flopped of that when you're on the floor. All the crowd noise comes down to the court, and so it gets crazy, crazy loud. I mean, it's hard to communicate for other teams that are in there, and there's a definite home court advantage. You hear every announcer that comes in. I mean, Gus Johnson talked about it last night repeatedly. I mean, you hear everybody talk about how loud it is.
The Carnegie Hall of college basketball is what he calls it. That's a great moniker that he has bestowed upon Assembly Hall. The Carnegie Hall of college basketball. But that's why he's calling it that, because the Carnegie Hall, it's a theater. It's like looking at two theaters facing each other. Tommy B said that. He called it the Carnegie Hall College Basketball. It's cray-cray. I've been to Yum Center and Rip-Off Arena, which would be Rupp. They have nothing on the hall. I agree with you there.
Whoa. If he's been to Rupp Arena and he's been there for a game when they're playing a big game,
these people don't mean this stuff literally. They're saying it from a fan side.
Okay, because
you're going to have to.
Loud.
It's not.
What's Indiana 17,000 plus, and I think Rupp Arena is like 23,000. Like Rupp Arena is an awesome arena as well. Now, the only game I've ever been there for was Indiana beating Duke. So I've never been there for a Kentucky game. And
that's right. You guys played on neutral floor, didn't you?
Yeah, we always played.
All right, great question for you. If you were playing, and Indiana and Kentucky were playing, but you're a player, would you prefer the home and home or neutral court?
I'd prefer the home and home. Although here's the benefit, and this is why I thought they did it, and this is just no one ever brought it up or explained it to us. This is just why I thought they always did it. We always played at an arena that had a good potential to host an NCAA first round or second round or Final Four or something like that. And that experience is a big difference. Like, you watch Duke throughout the year, generally they'll play a game here and there in Charlotte, or they'll play a game.
Well, but that's
UNC
funny you say that,
Greensboro.
Because that's Calipari. That's one of the things that he said. He wants to play in a neutral floor because they like getting that NCAA experience. He's talked about that specifically, and it makes sense. It sucks that you're going to blow up a rivalry like that just over being petty. And I think that's bull crap. But
well, you and I talked about this back in the Notre Dame game about how playing in that Crossroads Classic, eliminates Indiana from the opportunity to play in the San Juan Shootout or some of those all the early season tournaments that they have now, because that kind of counts against that. But if you're going to look at the benefit of that, being able to play in Bankers Life Fieldhouse that's something that's a good experience to do, because that's the type of venue you're going to play in for the first and second round of the NCAA tournament. So there's a positive to that as well.
And if you'll watch Kentucky, they have a lot of games in places like that.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, so you see Duke and you see North Carolina and teams like that. Gonzaga does it a lot early in the season. You'll see them travel and play in the United Center and, play in some venues where they're going to host that type of event. It might not be that exact event, but, playing in the United Center and Bankers Life Fieldhouse, it's kind of the same atmosphere, same sight lines for shots and things like that. So you just want to play in those venues that look a little bit different and that your teams are not totally used to playing in. But nowadays, like I'll tell you, Columbus, the Kohl Center in Wisconsin and Ohio State's arena, I mean, those are a lot like Bankers Life Fieldhouse, the way they're set up on the inside now. So you kind of get a little bit more of that experience.
The men's and women's combined record now, 30-9.
Yeah,
I would venture a guess that may be an all-time best in the history of the two programs combined.
You think?
Very, very possible. Well, obviously, the women's program has not had many opportunities to shine like this. So, yeah, that's
very possible.
So.
Very possible.
Ali Patberg had 18 points last night as number 17 Indiana topped Penn State on the road, 76-60. That was a hard-fought game. They kind of went back and forth, man, but Indiana gets off the schneid. They had lost 3 in a row. Glad that's over. They can get back to action and winning. They're a fun team to watch.
Yep, no, they really are. I mean, they've been on a little bit of a skid, so we've been, I don't want to say down on them, but we've not talked about them as much because they've struggled for a few games, but they've they played last night. They played a Penn State team that's not great, but on the road, you love to get those wins on the road, and they've got an opportunity now to I think come back home and get back on track. They lost 3 games in a row, but they were all ranked teams that they lost to. It wasn't like they lost to some teams that aren't any good.
Is the Super Bowl Sunday?
No, a week from Sunday.
Okay, so they do the 2-week thing too then.
The Stupid Bowl is Sunday.
They do the 2-week. What's that? The All-Star thing? The
Pro Bowl.
That's
Pro Bowl garbage.
I didn't even watch that when I was a kid. Maybe when I was a kid, 12 years old. But other than that,
what could they do to make you watch that? What could they do?
I don't.
Anything?
Nothing. No, I don't think that they really could. I mean, if they played it, if you actually played, and they're not going to risk injury in an all-star game.
Right.
It means nothing when they're making millions.
I mean, I would rather see them do like the combine or do something crazy. Do something with, showing skills challenges, or I'd rather see them play. I'd rather see those dudes play a basketball game.
You know what I'd rather see? What was that show that Joe Rogan used to host? What?
Pros versus Joes.
No, it's not what I'm thinking of. Where they had to eat. You need to eat all that crazy crap.
Oh my gosh! Have you lost your mind?
Make them do that.
Oh no, those are disgusting.
Well, got to do something crazy.
Yeah, I'd like to see him play a different sport. I'd like to see him do something. I mean, I'd rather watch all those guys play a baseball game or a basketball game or soccer or something different. I mean, nobody wants to watch them play in a football game they don't care about. And none of us want to see them get hurt. So the game is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. But I don't have a good suggestion to how to fix it. So
fear factor. Joker got it. Fear factor.
No, I can't stand those things. I hate watching them eat bugs and stupid stuff. It just doesn't make any sense.
Oh man, we're gonna have a fear factor day then.
Turn it. It ain't happening. I'd rather go to the dentist. I'd rather go see Dr. J.
Oh
twice.
yeah, baby.
Rather see Dr. J twice than
we got to make that happen, and we got to get down to Bubba's 33 in Clarksville to do a post game show, some away game. I think we got to look at the schedule and find one that works out for that. I need some Bubba's 33 food, man. I'm jonesing.
It's pretty good.
It is
pretty delicious. Game coming up tonight. Whiskey's at Purdue. Purdue Purdue can't afford a home loss here. They're kind of treading water right now. They're out there treading water. They've been treading water for a minute, so that water is bumping up around their chin. They can't afford to lose, and Wisconsin's been playing pretty well.
Purdue will win this game tonight. Purdue's going to get on track. They're going to go on a little bit of a run here. And quite frankly, as an Indiana fan, I'm rooting for Purdue because we need Wisconsin to lose.
Oh, from the stand, yeah. Well, I'm sure they're going to have many more opportunities to lose to a team that is one of those where it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50 game. They've got just as good a shot to lose that game as they do win, probably.
For Purdue's resume, for Purdue to make the NCAA tournament, I mean, I think this is the game they have to win. I really do. They're 10-9 on the year right now.
Well, for Purdue, absolutely, I agree with you. Yeah, they don't have the margin for error.
Yep, you're right.
Absolutely. Then this weekend, tomorrow, the Illini. We've talked about them. This is a team that, Todd, that I didn't see them as a Big Ten champion at the beginning of the season, but I thought that they were going to be pretty decent, as we've talked about. But, man, now they've really elevated things, and they're up and bumping at the top.
Yeah, I mean, the gigantic guy inside, Kofi Coburn, I mean, he's not that incredibly skilled of a player. He's just it's hard to describe because he is one of those people. There's a lot of 7-foot people in the world, but Shaq's just bigger than all of them. And, Kofi Coburn, I've heard him described by several people that you would trust their opinion that describe him in person. And they say he's that big. And he's just a monster on the inside. The difference with them lately, they've been knocking down shots. And when they've got when Frazier, their guard, is out there knocking down shots, and that's why they went into Purdue and won, because they knocked down some shots early in the game, and Purdue couldn't make anything.
Absolutely. And also Nebraska at Rutgers, not, terribly enthralling game there. Nebraska, of course, has been the virtually the punching bag in the Big Ten right now. And they go on the road to play a Rutgers team who is no longer the punching bag. And Rutgers has got to be excited as hell because they've been the punching bag of this conference in every sport virtually. And right now in the premier sport of the conference, they're up there with some of the big boys.
Yeah. I mean, right now looking at the Big Ten, Rutgers is, I believe, going to hang around, right where they're at. I think they're going to hang around that middle area of the Big Ten until late in the season. I mean, they finish off with at Wisconsin, at Penn State, Maryland at home, and at Purdue. That's their last 4 games. They'll lose 3 out of 4 of those, in my opinion. And at that point, that'll be tough for them, at that point in the Big Ten season. But they're going to hang around. They're a much better team. I mean, answer your question or expand on your comment. They are a much better team than what they've ever been in the past in this Big Ten.
Oh, yeah, Rutgers. Yeah, first time ranked since 1979. Man, how much fun that's got to be for this program because the Big Ten, they are the big boy. It's the big boy of big boys. And this year they are the best conference in all the conferences. So, man, they are celebrating in Piscataway.
And look where they're at, located over there. I mean, the Big East is down. The Atlantic 10 has got some teams over there. I mean, they're kind of down a little bit. I mean, Rutgers playing in the Big Ten from a recruiting standpoint, this is gigantic for Rutgers. I mean, how much talent there is in that East Coast and that New York, New Jersey area. And, this will only help them in the future. They'll probably be a team that continues to hang out right there. They're not going to be in the bottom third of the Big Ten anymore. I think they're going to be up closer to the top half.
Being that this is Friday, not a lot of games on the docket, but speaking of Wisconsin, Purdue, all right, you picked that game. What's the spread on that? Where does Purdue is 4.5 points?
Purdue's a 4.5-point favorite. I think you've got to stick with the home team theory right now, or it'd be tough. It's tough to win at Purdue. Purdue needs a win really bad. I think you'd be crazy to try to go against Purdue in that one.
Not a lot of games because it is Friday, like I said. The only
Marquette and Butler. Marquette's at Butler. You talk about a team that needs a win.
That was the only other game of note. Butler's a 5.5-point favorite in this game. They're at home to Marquette, but man, you got Mr. Howard there still stroking it.
Yeah, and Butler has lost 3 games in a row. Butler really needs a win. They lost to Seton Hall at home, and then they lost a couple of tough ones. DePaul's a good team on the road, and Villanova on the road. So all 3 really good teams they've lost to, but coming back home, Butler really needs this win and needs to get themselves. They were, I think, what are they ranked? Still 13th in the country, which they won't be because they've had 2 losses in the last week. But this is a game Butler's got to have, I believe.
Yeah, this is a team that was on the one line, on Joe Lunardi's one line, Todd, and that's huge because they've never been on the one line, I don't think. Even back in their heyday, they were never on the one line, and that's exactly where they found themselves for a while. Of course, that's a very fluid thing. Seeding deal. It's just for fun, but to get there, that means you're doing well. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, that was probably a conversation piece as much as anything because I don't think that they were ever quite to that point. But I'm a Butler believer. I'm telling you, I think they're a really good team. They play hard defensively. They rotate well, and they've got guys that can shoot the ball and knock it down. And Kamar Baldwin, I think that's his name. Baldwin is one of the best guards in the country, if not. Overall best players in the country. So, they've got all the makeup of being a really good team. They'll get back on track tonight.
We talked about Kentucky and traveling earlier. Here's one of my favorite games of the weekend. Kentucky is going number 15 Kentucky on the road at number 18 Texas Tech in Lubbock.
Yep. That's
what's the spread on that? I don't understand why they show spreads half the time and not on this page.
In basketball, it's not like football. In basketball, they don't put them out until the day of the game.
Well, some of these do have them. Purdue's is on it. Oh, that's tonight.
It's tonight. That's why
I don't understand why they don't have it on there. We should just go to Bet Rivers and just use their
too much injury possibility and things like that. So that's a game. I like that. It's weirdly timed where they've got, isn't it the SEC Big 12 Challenge or something going on this week? And
a little late.
Weird timing for that to be in the middle of your conference schedule, but that'll be a good one. Texas Tech is a really good defensive team. They struggle to score the ball as well. That might be one of those games that finishes like 60-55 or something. It may not be a high scoring game.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what other big games this weekend? Let me see all. That's Thursday. Talking about Saturday.
Yeah,
Iowa State, Auburn showing, they never got the complete respect because they were like the last undefeated team, but they still never got ranked super high. They lost those 2 games, and man, they got pummeled. They're number 16 right now. They're in that Big 12 SEC challenge at home to Iowa State.
Yeah. Also, Notre Dame's got a big game at Florida State, number 5 ranked Florida State. So that's a good opportunity for Notre Dame to get a big win. Yeah, I'll tell you, the team I know you love, the Dayton Flyers, they've got a tough one at Richmond. Richmond's a pretty good team, and
Richmond beat is it Wisconsin? They beat somebody early on this year.
Yeah, they did. I can't remember who it was
that we've talked about. Nah, it was somebody better than that. Yeah, but LSU and Texas playing in that Big 12 challenge, Big 12 SEC challenge. Mississippi State and Oklahoma.
Who's Baylor playing?
Baylor's Bears. You would ask me specific. No, of course, where are they? Don't see.
Are they off?
All right, there's Tennessee and Kansas. That's
Baylor.
At Kansas.
Baylor plays at Florida tomorrow.
Ooh, that ought to be a good one.
Yeah, that will be a good one. Tomorrow night on ESPN, Baylor at Florida.
I tell you, these teams are pretty. Get all the way to the bottom.
Baylor, have you watched Baylor at all?
No.
Boy, they're legit. They are good. They've got guards that can shoot the ball. They've got guards that can drive it to the basket. They got a big guy that blocks shots like crazy. They're good, and they play so hard defensively that what is it? No, not Bryce Drew. What's the Drew? Scott Drew. He's got those guys playing defense like madmen. They're crazy.
They're on the road at Florida,
Yeah.
team that has lost 6 games. A lot of talk about how good they were going to be this year. They're not ranked, and they've lost a few games that people probably weren't expecting them to lose.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I mean, they were a team that they were ranked up in the top 10 for sure, maybe the top 5 early in the season, but they had some struggles, and they struggled to score the ball, themselves. So
Dude, Dayton is number 7.
Yeah, and they should be. They're that good.
17-2. Obi Toppin's for real.
He is for real. They're going to get to see him for the rest of this year, and that's it, because he'll be a lottery pick.
The one thing they've done a good job of matching teams up, Oklahoma State, Texas A&M, and that Big 12 SEC challenge, those teams are 9-9 and 9-8.
Yep. Like I said, that's just a weird timing to have that.
Tennessee at Kansas. What a great timing for them now because they're dealing with all those suspensions.
Yeah, that game couldn't be any more irrelevant.
Irrelevant for us, that's for sure, man. And is Kansas going to become irrelevant? This could affect their season for sure. I know we talked about that what's his name hasn't really done a lot for Kansas this year, but it's not just the point production. It's how this entire thing hits those guys because that's a horrible look, and you got to be embarrassed. I would hope.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I honestly. I don't think it'll negatively affect them. I think they'll be just fine. I think they'll come out of it and they'll probably
band together.
Yeah, probably rally around it.
Speaking of rallying up, it's time to rally up, put the rally cap on, and pack it away, man. We got a lot coming up on Sunday as the Indiana Hoosiers take on the Maryland Terrapins for another Big Ten clash against a ranked opponent for Indiana, an opportunity to take down their 7th consecutive ranked opponent, I believe. But, of course, that means after the game of Todd Leary's coming to you about 2 hours after the tip, which that occurs at 1 p.m. That game Eastern. Is on CBS, 1 p.m. Eastern time for those of you not living in the regular world. Then, of course, after the game, coming to you live from Yogi's immediately after the ball game, should be around 3 o'clock. So looking forward to that. Todd Leary, did you have a good week?
I did. It's always they got Indiana kind of dictates how your week goes and how you feel about it. So it was a good week for Indiana. We're anxious going all up until Thursday. We're always excited on game days Thursday, and then we get to have a good Friday because we got a nice win yesterday.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate everybody for joining us this week. Look forward to another great week next week. For Jake, thanks to Jake for keeping us on the wheel. Thanks for running mate Todd Leary. I'm Jim Coyle. Until Sunday, I will see you on the radio.